The sun was just rising over the quiet suburban neighborhood when Emily heard a knock at her door. She opened it to find Karen, the infamous HOA president, waving a clipboard and looking indignant. "You're in violation. You've been reported for non-compliance, and the police are on their way," she snapped. Emily's heart sank. She had lived here for years, paid her dues, and followed every rule, but Karen had always had a vendetta, picking minor issues to escalate. Emily's mind raced. She knew Karen was manipulative, a woman who thrived on control and intimidation. But what she didn't know was that today's confrontation would spiral into something entirely unexpected. While Emily was a quiet, careful homeowner, her teenage son, Ryan, had recently joined law enforcement training with a special badge granted for junior officers in the community program. The tension mounted as Karen's phone buzzed. She had already called the local police. Emily tried to remain calm, stepping aside to let Karen in, hoping to defuse the situation. But Karen's arrogance only grew. She had no idea the quiet family she bullied was prepared for this exact scenario. As Karen waved her phone, threatening citations and arrests, Ryan quietly entered the living room. His badge glinted in the morning light. The room froze. Karen's confident smirk faltered. Emily's heart pounded. The promise of a shocking twist had arrived. And the suburban streets were about to witness a showdown no one expected. Karen's eyes widened as Ryan stepped forward, badge in hand. "Ma'am, please calm down," he said, his voice calm but authoritative. "This situation has already escalated beyond your complaints, and you've crossed legal boundaries." Karen laughed nervously. "And who are you supposed to be? Some kind of hero?" Her voice carried the arrogance she always wielded to intimidate neighbors. But Ryan's presence was magnetic. Every ounce of her bravado began to crack. Emily watched, both anxious and relieved. Karen didn't realize the badge wasn't just symbolic, it represented real authority within the local enforcement program. Ryan had undergone rigorous training in procedures, legality, and citizen rights. As Karen tried to continue her threats, Ryan calmly detailed every violation Karen herself was committing by harassing a homeowner, making false reports, and attempting to intimidate Emily. Each word, precise and unwavering, slowly chipped away at Karen's composure. Neighbors who had gathered outside, curious about the escalating argument, now whispered amongst themselves. The woman who had terrorized them with fines, citations, and empty threats was now facing consequences she had never imagined. The power dynamic shifted instantly, turning Karen's own aggression into her moment of vulnerability. By the time the first real police officers arrived, Karen was already pale, unsure, and frozen in place. The badge Ryan held was more than plastic, it was authority, truth, and accountability. Emily realized then that the showdown would end in a way no one in the neighborhood would forget. The police officers stepped carefully into the living room, but all eyes were on Karen. Ryan remained calm, walking through the sequence of events, the false complaints, the harassment, and the unlawful attempt to intimidate Emily. He explained that she had violated local HOA enforcement regulations multiple times, enough to warrant immediate action. Karen's smug grin had disappeared. She stuttered, trying to regain control, but the words caught in her throat. The officers exchanged glances, clearly impressed by the teenage officer's composure and understanding of the law. Emily felt a mix of pride and disbelief. Her son was handling a situation most adults would have faltered in. Outside, neighbors peered through windows, murmuring with astonishment. Karen, once a figure of dominance in the community, now appeared small, cornered, and helpless. The contrast was stark. The woman who terrorized others with intimidation had no idea she would be held accountable by the very family she sought to control. Ryan calmly explained the next steps. Karen would need to answer for her actions, and the HOA board's harassment policies were now under review. Every word he spoke reinforced the unexpected twist. The tables had turned entirely. The sense of suspense in the room was palpable. Emily's hands trembled slightly as she realized the full impact. Karen's calls for authority had backfired completely. What had begun as a routine HOA complaint was now a lesson in justice, integrity, and standing up to manipulation. Karen's panic grew as Ryan presented her with the official notice. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "your harassment constitutes actionable offenses. You are under review and will be temporarily detained pending further investigation." Karen froze. The room was silent except for the quiet ticking of the clock. Emily's heart raced as neighbors outside began whispering excitedly, already taking in the scene through windows. The audacity of Karen's attempts to control others had been met with a firm, lawful response. As Ryan led Karen to a temporary holding area, her attempts at protest dissolved into silence. She realized that her years of intimidation, manipulation, and false reporting had all led to this singular moment of accountability. Emily felt relief flood through her. The fear that had weighed on her for months, the fines, the threats, and the constant scrutiny, was lifted in a way she never expected. Her son's unexpected presence had turned the tables in a way that was both dramatic and just. The neighborhood, having witnessed this, would now reconsider how power and authority could be misused. Karen's actions, once feared, had become an example of what happens when arrogance meets preparation and justice. News of the incident spread quickly. Neighbors who had quietly tolerated Karen's bullying now approached Emily with gratitude and relief. They had long feared standing up to her, but seeing Ryan calmly and correctly enforce the law inspired them. The HOA board was left scrambling, attempting to rewrite policies, clarify authority, and protect themselves from further exposure. Emails and calls flooded in, questioning past actions and demanding accountability. The ripple effect of one decisive action had turned into a full-scale reassessment of HOA enforcement across the community. Emily sat quietly in her living room, reflecting on the dramatic events. She had not only protected her family but had also triggered a larger cultural shift in how authority could be questioned and held accountable. Karen, meanwhile, faced disciplinary hearings, fines, and formal warnings. For the first time, her reputation as an intimidating HOA president was replaced with one of caution and defeat. The story of the badge, the calm authority, and the courage of a single family would be retold in the neighborhood for years, illustrating that standing up to intimidation, even in the face of fear, can have far-reaching consequences. Weeks later, Emily and Ryan reflected on what had happened. The neighborhood now treated them with respect, not fear. Ryan's training had proven invaluable, but more importantly, it was the combination of knowledge, preparation, and moral courage that had made the difference. The HOA board slowly implemented new, transparent policies to prevent abuse of power. Karen's attempts to intimidate others were curtailed, and residents began to feel a renewed sense of safety in their community. Emily realized that fear often empowers bullies, but understanding the law and having allies can completely neutralize threats. Ryan's presence was unexpected, yes, but the real heroism was in his preparation, confidence, and unwavering commitment to justice. The neighborhood now viewed HOA enforcement differently. What once represented arbitrary control now became a reminder that power is accountable, and no one is above the law, not even the self-proclaimed queen of the community. Months later, Emily received letters of apology from several HOA members, acknowledging wrongdoing and promising reform. Karen remained under review, her influence over the neighborhood significantly diminished. The incident became a story told in local gatherings, the day a determined homeowner and her trained son turned the tables on an overbearing HOA. Neighbors would always remember the morning when fear was replaced by justice and calm authority. Emily watched Ryan, proud beyond words, knowing that one day, he would carry this lesson of courage and integrity into every challenge. The quiet family had emerged victorious, not through anger or confrontation, but through preparation, knowledge, and the courage to stand up when it mattered most. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.